Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back. Today we have a very exciting video. Today we are going to be talking about every single book that I have on my physical TBR. I have quite a few books. This shelf behind me is actually full of most of my read books, but this shelf has a lot of my TBR, and then I also have another bookcase over here in this corner that you can't see that is all of my fantasy and fantasy romance TBR. So I thought it would be fun for us to talk about every single book that I have on my physical TBR. We're just gonna start from this corner and basically work our way over to this other little bookshelf over here and go through every single book. I may or may not talk about it. We might do rapid fire at some point. Who knows? This is just gonna be a fun little chaotic bookshelf tour, physical TBR tour, and I'm very excited. So get cozy, get your slippers on, get a little drinky drink, and let's just jump into it. We have a little guest today. He's just watching over the books, making sure that everybody is not harmed in this video. This top shelf right here is my weird literary fiction / classics shelf. I've read probably about half of this shelf. I'm just gonna get you guys up nice and close and personal here. We'll just start from this side, I guess. This is my little vintage camera that my little sister left, and I think it's so cute. If you guys don't know, I love photography. I'm kind of like a hobbyist photographer on the side, mainly for like landscapes and nature and stuff, so that's a big part of my life. So I like him. He just kind of hangs out there. A hardback copy of Normal People. I haven't read this yet. I bought it because it's a hardback and I've never seen a hardback before, so I bought it and I will read it at some point. I'm just not really ready for that yet, and I think I need a few more years maybe before I can be ready for this book. Then I have The Stranger in the Lifeboat by Mitch Albom. Have not read this yet, but I will at some point. I was told that this is the first book that I should read by him, so I bought it at Half Price Books. Then we're getting into my weird feminist fiction, and I love it. I have two Julia Armfield books. I have Our Wives Under the Sea, which I have read and I loved. This was a weird horror fiction. And then Salt Slow, I bought this after I read this one. I have not read this yet, but I will at some point. This is actually kind of speaking to me right now. This seems like a good summary type of book, and I am hoping that it's just as weird as this one. Arrows the Bittersweet. The title just pulled me in. Arrows the Bittersweet. How mournful and soul-wrenching does that sound? I don't know. But so I started it and I have not gotten very far into it, but she's definitely an author that I want to be able to sit down and really, really digest what she's trying to say. So this is going to be a special book that I'm going to need the inkling to pick it up. Then I found The Reader at the thrift store. I've been eyeing this book actually at Barnes & Noble, so I was super excited when I found it at the thrift store. I don't really know anything about it except that the front of it says, a formerly beautiful, disturbing, and finally morally devastating novel. That sounds really good, doesn't it? From the first page, ensnares both heart and mind. Oh, and I didn't realize, but it's a Oprah's Book Club. I don't know. It's The Reader, so as a reader, I feel like that's speaking to me already. So, I mean, I don't really think anything can go wrong with that book, to be honest. Then I have these two weird little fiction books. My Death by Lisa Tuttle. Lisa Tuttle. Cover really, really got me. And I'm very curious to see what this is like. This is making me want to read every single one of these books right now. Then the next one is On Earth We're Briefly Gorgeous. I've just kind of seen this around a couple times by some readers out there who I really feel like I connect with their reading style. And I was told that this will make me cry and sob like a baby. And I love books that make me cry and sob like a baby. So I bought it. And I'm very excited to get into this one. Maybe later this year, I'll probably pick this one up. We'll see. We're gonna rapid fire these next. The Metamorphosis by Kafka. A Short Stay in Hell by Stephen Peck. Now we're getting into our classics. So this is one of my favorite sections. Let me just move my little leafy leaf here. I've got a couple editions of certain classics. I've got The Penelopiad by Margaret Atwood. This is my next book I'm gonna read by her. Wuthering Heights in 2 editions. I bought this edition because the words are much, much bigger than the words in this one. And also it's just beautiful. And this is actually one of the books that I picked up when I was doing my birthday Barnes & Noble challenge with my husband. He let me have 3 minutes to go around and pick up any book I wanted. And so of course I grabbed this one because I've been eyeing it for a while, but I also love the cover of this one. Then I have Mrs. Dalloway by Virginia Woolf. Of course, this cover is so gorgeous and I'm very interested to get into some Virginia Woolf books. So that's why I bought this one. I actually bought that one after I read The Wedding People, and she talked about this book a lot, so that's why I bought it. Roll rapid fire these next ones. These are just a few classics that I picked up. I have Frankenstein, the 1818 text. I bought this at the thrift store and it's annotated by the reader, so I'm very curious to read this. I'm gonna read it this fall. Troy Chimneys by Margaret Kennedy. Sons and Lovers by D.H. Lawrence. Dracula. Fahrenheit 451. Animal Farm. Great Gatsby. I have this really, really pretty edition of the Alice in Wonderland and Through the Looking Glass. I found this at the thrift store and just look at this cover. This was like one of their special editions of it, and like look on the inside. So cute. This is a deluxe edition, Penguin Classic. It has like artwork in it, which is kind of one of the reasons why I bought it. This was just fun. I read Alice's Adventures in Wonderland, but I haven't read Through the Looking Glass yet. Coffee break. We're not even done with the first shelf yet. I have The Princess Bride. I cannot wait to read this book. Do you guys know those videos out there that are like where my lore started? This is where my lore started. This and Lord of the Rings. I have an old copy of The Age of Innocence by Edith Wharton. I found this at an old bookstore in Wilmington and I bought it because the edition is just really pretty. I don't really know anything about this book, but I just know that it's an older classic and I do want to read it just because The Age of Innocence to me sounds kind of sweet, and I have a feeling that it's not as sweet as it sounds. And then I thought I would get into poetry at some point, and if I were to get into poetry, this one is The Poetry in the Natural World. It's like a nature poetry book, and I'm a big outdoorsy girl. I love being outside, and nature poetry is the kind of poetry that I would want to read. All right, so that's the first shelf. This shelf right here, these are all books that I have read. We'll go down one more shelf, and then those are my literary fictions that I have not read yet. This is Twinkle. This is my little Heart of Pearls plant. So let's see. Broken Country, I've talked about this already on my channel. I'm gonna move Miss Twinkle over for a sec. The Secret Book of Flora Lee, Blackwood's Blue Sky, Crow Talk. I really wanna read this summer. The Testaments by Margaret Atwood, The Cemetery of Untold Stories, The Extinction of Irina Ray. Look at this cover. It kind of sounds like it's a little bit of a murder mystery literary fiction. So now we're gonna get into our romance books. I have a very small romance TBR because I'm rarely in the contemporary romance mood, but when I am, I want to have a couple of choices. Savor It by Sarah Dewitt. This is so pretty, and I bought it because on the back it said something about a cute little animal farm, and anything with cute little animal farms, sign me up. The Wisteria Society for Lady Scoundrels. This just sounds really fun, and it looks super short, just like comical, honestly, and the cover is gorgeous. Say You'll Remember Me by Abby Jimenez. I just started Part of Your World this morning. I'm listening to it on audio, and I started it when I started my workout, and I swear to you, I felt so funny because I was just giggling and smiling to myself the whole workout, and I swear I probably looked so crazy. I already love her writing so much, so I'm going to be reading a lot of her books, I can already tell, so I'm very happy that I picked this one up. Then I found Beach Read and People We Meet on Vacation at the thrift store here. And I do really enjoy Emily Henry's writing. I read Happy Place and Funny People, and I loved both of them. The Dead Romantics by Ashley Poston, another romance author that I do really enjoy. I just love the magical realism aspect of her writing. I know a lot of people didn't really love Novel Story, but that was like one of my favorite books by her. It was just so fun to imagine myself like in one of my storybooks, so I just love her stuff. Then I have Lewd in the Mist. This was 100% a cover buy. As you can tell, it's freaking gorgeous. Kind of looks like an old magazine, but this is some type of general fiction, and Catherine Arden, which is one of my favorite authors, has introduced it, so that's why I bought it. I think it's gonna be a really fun little like magical world fairy tale type of story. My grandmother asked me to tell you She's Sorry by Frederick Buckman. Two more Fitzcarraldo editions, Minor Detail and Paradise. Moonfleet by J. Mead Faulkner. Demon Copperhead by Barbara Kingsolver. The Parable and the Sower by Octavia Butler. The Final Wish of Mr. Murray McBride. I'm gonna hold off on reading this one because I don't want this world to end. The Capital of Dreams by Heather O'Neill. This was also kind of a cover buy, and the back of it sounds really, really cool. We're gonna rapid fire these because I've already talked about these. We Have Always Lived in the Castle, A Separate Piece, The Other Valley, Madeline is Sleeping, Shadow of the Wind, Hamnet, and A Little Life, The Lost Bookshop, and Sparrow. That was this shelf right here, and I do have one more shelf that has some more literary fiction that I haven't read on it yet. And then these are my like witchy romantasy books and a little bit of horror on the end. Lessons in Chemistry, I thrifted this one. I do want to read this soon. A Short Walk Through the Wide World. I almost bought this full price at Barnes & Noble and then I thrifted it. So that's super exciting. Horse by Geraldine Brooks. I used to ride horses. I will be getting back into it hopefully soon at some point. And so I just kind of had to pick this book up. I also found this at the thrift store. So that was very exciting. And I know that she's a very well-known author. Then I have The Women by Kristen Hanna. I'm a nurse, so this I feel like is gonna be pretty hard-hitting for me, which is kind of why I'm putting it off a little bit, just because I wanna be ready for this book when I do read it. And last one on this shelf is The Bones Beneath My Skin by TJ Klune. I love TJ Klune. I read The House in the Cerulean Sea and really, really loved it. There are a few more down here on the bottom I'll grab. Like I keep saying, I don't read thrillers, but I have a few. Once There Were Wolves by Charlotte McConaughey. I actually saw this like years and years ago on Amazon, and I had it in my Amazon cart for like well over a year. I just never bought it because I'm not a thriller girl, but it sounds so interesting. And I found it at the thrift store, which is crazy because this is an indie book. So I'm excited to read this one. And I have Misery by Stephen King. I bought this for my husband because he said he wanted to start reading Stephen King, and he's not really a reader. Mr. Mercedes by Stephen King. Also bought this for my husband. Hail Mary by Andy Weir. Everybody knows this book. I'm not a sci-fi girl, so I'm probably not gonna be reading this one, but I know that it's amazing. Then I have 3 gifted books. I have The Winners by Frederick Bachman, and then There Was You by a local author from the town that I'm from. Maybe Someday by Colleen Hoover. My friend bought me that book. Then The Santa Suit. I picked this up in my Free Little Library video at one of the Free Little Libraries, so I'm excited to read this in the Christmas time. I have never read a Christmas romance, and I figured why not? This one's like super short, and we'll just dip our toe in that water with this book. The next few books on the bottom here are like kids books that I've picked up, or like middle grade books. So I have Howl's Moving Castle. I do really, really want to read this. I just haven't really found the time yet to do that. Then I have 2 of my oldest Harry Potter editions. I have the full hardback set over there that my brother actually got me for my birthday, but this one is special because this is the one that I read growing up. It's very, very old and crunchy, but I'm never gonna get rid of this book. And then this one right here, I actually bought in London while we were traveling to go to the London Warner Brothers studio for Harry Potter. So I still have like my plane tickets and everything in here. The Daunt's bookmark, which is where I bought this book at the Daunt's book there in London. That's just like kind of a little memorabilia, and I just love it. I read this on the plane home. It was so much fun to do that after going to the Warner Brothers studio. That's it on this shelf. So now we can go over to my fantasy romance shelf, which is my baby. So this is where all of my fantasy or fantasy romance books live. There are a couple literary fictions on there that I just couldn't fit on the shelf. We'll go over there and we'll talk about those. So I had to put a sweater on because I'm getting cold, but I also forgot that I have a whole Lord of the Rings set up at the top of that big bookshelf that I have not read yet. I've obviously watched all of the movies like multiple times, but I have to show you these editions because they are stunning. I'm too tall for this. So I have the 75th edition of The Hobbit. I eyed this book so many times in the store. I picked it up, I carried it around so many times, and I finally bought it for myself during my birthday week. I'm so happy I did too, because I can't stop looking at this book. Like, it's got these gorgeous pictures and like illustrations and stuff in it. This is the original like illustrations of The Hobbit. And then this is the original like cover art that he had for his first book, The Hobbit. I have read The Hobbit multiple times actually. I just adore this series so much. I just adore it. I have nothing really else to say besides it's amazing. And it's not like a fast-paced book, but the quality of it is just outstanding. and the storytelling is just incredible, that it's like a story that you're never gonna stop thinking about. And that's what I loved so much about this. So I have this edition of The Hobbit, and then I have this beauty, the entire Lord of the Rings series and another Hobbit edition that I got for my birthday. And then I also got this little edition for my birthday as well for my parents. It's like a leather bound, like mini edition. I'll quickly pull these all out and I'll show you. There's The Hobbit with a little map, The Fellowship of the Ring, Two Towers, Return of the King. These are just so fun, pretty, and cute, and they're so soft. Like the leather is so soft. These books honestly deserve an entire video on their own. Like, look at these. I'm gonna show you all of these one by one because they deserve every minute of attention. This is The Hobbit. It's a green foiled hardcover. And what really makes these special is the artwork. So those are my babies of the Lord of the Rings editions. I did say that I'm gonna read this series this year. We'll see. I might start it this year, maybe reread The Hobbit, and then we'll see. These are my prized possessions along with my shelf over there. If you guys want a full tour of my bookshelf, let me know because I've got so many books on there that I am just like head over heels in love with. So this little top shelf right here is my current TBR. This is a little library book, The Last Heir to the Blackwood Library. I picked this up on a whim. It sounds really, really fun, and maybe I'll bring this on my trip this weekend. R.F. Kuang, Yellowface, The Wild Huntress, Part of Your World by Abby Jimenez. I'm currently reading this right now. Mountains Made of Glass, The Dagger and the Flame. I cannot wait to read this book. It sounds so fun. Maybe I'll bring that too on my trip. And then these books I've already read. So going down one more shelf, we've got the rest of my fantasy romance TBR. These, here are our little TBR jars that were picked from sometimes. And then this is actually my reading journal. To be honest, I don't really keep up with it, but it's so cute. And I do have a few spreads in here that I do keep up with, like my little bookshelf. So I have my entire TBR written down in here, and I like to keep track like the books that I'm actually reading off my TBR because that's my goal this year. And then I also have some of my like favorite quotes in here. If you guys are curious about like a little reading journal tour, let me know. All right, we'll start from this side. The Adventures of Amina al-Sarafi. I can't wait to read this book. The Forest King's Daughter, A Study in Drowning. Air by Sabaa Tahir. I just read the entire Ember in the Ashes. I still need to read the last book in that series. Then I have Nightweaver. I've had this on my mental TBR for, I'm not kidding, like probably 2 years. And she finally got picked up by a publisher. And I've heard this is kind of like a Pirates in the Caribbean type of romantasy, and give me all the pirates. So I'm super excited to read this one. I recently picked this one up, The City of Brass by Chakraborty. I've only heard amazing things about this author, and this is a chunky fantasy book. And I cannot wait to get into it, but I want to be able to be ready to binge the series when I do start this. So I don't want to start a brand new series right now because I am in the middle of a few of them. So this is one that I think I'm gonna want to read back to back. So that's why I'm kind of holding off on this one, but I am expecting it to be amazing. The Black Tongue Thief. I started this, got like 20 pages into it. I put it down because I think I was eyeing another book at the time. I can't remember. But I do really want to read this. It sounds really, really good. If you like badass female goblins. We're in a rapid fire of Blood and Fire, Master of Sorrows, The Bone Season, Age of Myth, The Secret History by Donna Tartt. I'm kind of scared to read this one, but I do want to read it at some point. Same goes for this one, The Will of the Many. Definitely scared to read this one, but I'm very excited because I know that so many people love this book. But I don't know when the second book's coming out. I don't think there's even a published date yet. So that's kind of why I'm not reading it yet, is because I don't want to read it, love it, and then have to wait 2 years for the next book to come out and then forget everything about that book. So I'm waiting until we get at least a release date for the next one. Ashes of the Sun. This book just looks super cool. I've never heard anybody talk about this one, but I found it at Barnes & Noble, and the reviews and stuff on the front just sounds really good. 2 John Gwynne books, The Shadow of the Gods and The Hunger of the Gods. These are the first and second books in the Bloodthorn trilogy. I really, really want to read the series, but I'm not ready to start a new series yet. But this one is going to be one of the first ones that I pick up next. The Assassin's Apprentice by Robin Hobb. I really want to read Robin Hobb. I have way too many series. That's going to kind of be like the story for all these books, is I just have so many series that I want to read, and I'm having to like pick and choose which one to do first. Jade City, The Lies of Locke Lamora. Those are kind of more of my like high fantasy books. So these are kind of my, we'll do these first. These are some new books that I just recently bought, or just like new releases that I really want to get to soon. Or Curse Carved in Bone. It's like really, really pretty sprayed edges or foiled edges. The Twisted Throne. I'm gonna read this month. I know I am. Firebird, The Goddess of. I bought this because Lachlan told me to, and I'm very excited to read that. And then Broken Souls and Bones by L.J. Andrews. Those I'm very excited to read. Those are all like new releases. And then these are gonna be my like witchy, kind of like vampire-y books. Minus this one, Legendborn. We've talked about this one already. This is also one that's not a witchy book or like a vampire book, but Servant of the Earth. This one I'm very excited to get to. I've had this on my TBR for a hot minute now, before it was picked up by the publisher, and it sounds really, really good. The Spell Shop, The Witch's Heart, Juniper and Thorn, Slewfoot by Brahm, The Heartless Woods, Your Blood, My Bones, Ninth House, A Sorceress Comes to Call. I have to show you the inside of this book. Look how cute that is. I love T. Kingfisher. She has some really fun books. Here are 4 vampire books. I'm finding that I'm not really like a vampire girl very often, but if it's good, I will love it. Immortal Dark, got this cool like sprayed edge edition. The God of Endings. I really want to get to this book soon because I did start it. I got about 90 pages into it and put it down because it was kind of going slow in the beginning, and I just don't think I was in the mood. But I love this cover so much, and I've had it on my TBR for a long time, so I do need to really read this one. Lightfall by Ed Crooker. This is a new pickup for me. And then Dowry of Blood, which I do need to read this year, actually. Here's some more witchy books. The Night of the Witch. This is the last book in the Bear and the Nightingale series, The Winter of the Witch. I love the series so much. Every time I read them, I can't stop thinking about them for a while, and this one was just so good. Or The Bear and the Nightingale, and the next book after that, The Girl in the Tower, I think. Those two were just really, really good. So I do want to finish the series soon, but this is a very winter, like Russian type of setting, so I kind of want to wait for the winter time, or for at least it to not be 106 degrees outside in Texas. It's 106 degrees outside this week, which is ridiculous. Like, how is that even allowed? Foul Lady Fortune by Chloe Gong. I have not read any of her books yet. Clockwork Angel and Clockwork Princess. I thrifted both of these books. I do want to read the series soon. I just don't want to start a new series. Then I have Reign and Ruin. I saw this. This is an indie published book, and it's very witchy. And look at the interior pages. It's very cool. But I do want to read that one soon. That's also been on my TBR for a very long time. So if I were to pick one, that would be a contender. Then I have Crown of Oaths and Curses by Jay Bree, The City in Glass, Angels Before Man. I bought this simply because of the cover. Guilt and Thistlefoot. All right. Now we're getting down to the nitty gritty. These are the books that have been on my TBR the longest, actually. These are the ones that most of them have been on my TBR for a very long time. They're like more like YA. The bottom shelf is definitely more YA or books that I don't think I'm gonna read anytime soon, but I still want to read soon, if that makes sense. Is that not every single book on this TBR? Is books I want to read really soon, but books I don't think I'm gonna be able to read soon. We Hunt the Flame. I think this is the contender for the book that's been on my TBR the longest. I read Tempest of Tea by her, and I really, really liked that book. And I have The Starless Sea and the Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern. I've heard that her writing's very poetic, and I'm excited but nervous to read both of these. Strange the Dreamer, Dreadful, and Long Live Evil. Emily Wilde's Map of the Otherlands. The first one was just a little slow for me, but it was definitely really cute. Assistant to the Villain, I have read. I love this. I read it a couple years ago. And then Apprentice to the Villain, I have not read yet. But I really hate these edges. These purple edges are just kind of like ugly. And so that's kind of one of the reasons why I haven't picked it up. The Honey Witch, A Discovery of Witches. The Stolen One. This is one of my mom's friends, actually, who wrote this book. She said it was really good, so it's on my TBR. Then we've got a couple lit fics. The Homecoming. I bought this on Barnes & Noble hardback sale. I'm excited to get to this one. Witchcraft for Wayward Girls. The Wren in the Holly Library. I love the art in this one. The hardback is just pretty. Blood Over Bright Haven, The Undertaking of Heart and Mercy. I just love this cover. It's really pretty. I love the colors of it. I heard this is just like a very lighthearted like romance, so I'm excited for that one. The Swordcatcher. This is also one of the books that could probably contend with the book that's been on my TBR the longest. The stunning edition of Belladonna. This is the UK cover, and I love the UK cover so much more than the US cover. So once I read this, I'm gonna wanna buy all of them, I think. And I'm holding off because I don't want to start any more series, but I do really want to read this soon. And I have Cursebound, The Great Wind by Alan Moore, Everyone in My Family Has Killed Someone, and Remarkably Bright Creatures. All the Colors of the Dark. I recently got this at the Little Free Library haul as well, which is cool that I found this because this is like a new release. Guys, I think that's it. We just went through every single book on my TBR. I can't believe it. I'm gonna count these all up and then we'll get a number. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 77 on this shelf. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 70. Wow, I don't have as many as I thought. 70 plus 77 is 147, right? 7 plus 7 is 14 out of 0. 147. I have 147 unread books. Well, guys, I have 147 unread books on my TBR. Honestly, I thought it was gonna be a lot more than that. I think I started the year out with like 110 to 115 unread books. And I've definitely done some book shopping this year for sure. But I've also read like about 45 books already this year. So to be honest, like I'm doing pretty good. And I've been utilizing my library a lot more than I was last year, which is another one of my goals, is to really like utilize that versus buying a book or buying the end of a series that I don't really feel like I'm going to want to pick back up. So that's so good. I'm actually very, very happy with that number. I'm excited that we did this video because now I went and I picked up and I held every single one of these books on here that I haven't read yet. And it kind of like reignited my want to read them all. Now I just have them all fresh in my mind. And so when I'm picking my TBR for next month, I can just like have that on the back of my mind. I'm just so excited for every single one of these books. It's so hard to pick which one to read next. It really, really is. And so that's why I enjoy doing these like little monthly TBRs so far, is that I have like 5 to 7 books just on hand that I know that I want to read like soon. I just love having a bunch of different books in an array of genres that I can pick based off of my mood. To be honest, I'm never going to put myself in a book buying ban or anything like that. I just don't really believe in restriction. I think that it's actually counterintuitive to the whole point of a book buying ban. I think that when you go on a book buying ban, you don't buy books for however long, but then as soon as you come off of the book buying ban, what are you gonna do? You're just gonna go buy all of the books again. And so you're gonna end up with the same amount of books that you would have if you would have just bought them all. At least for me, like from my experience, at least for me, that's what I feel like would happen if I choose to like restrict myself from something. So I just try and stay away from restriction in general. So what I've been just trying to do is just, make sure that I'm only really buying the amount of books that I can read each month. So I try to read at least as many books as I'm buying every month. And so far we've been doing really good. And I'm excited about that because it's just making me want to get to my physical TBR even more. And I just love having a big physical TBR. It's fun. I feel like I have so many options. I feel like I can go shopping every day in my shelves, and that's just the whole point of reading, is just to have a good time, to have fun, to read the things that you love. And that's literally all it's about. It's not that serious. So I had so much fun doing this morning, and I hope that you guys had fun watching. I hope you got maybe some ideas for your TBR, and I will definitely be doing an updated TBR at some point, maybe the end of the year. We'll revisit this and kind of see like which ones I still have, which ones I read, which ones I liked or didn't like or whatever. I will see you guys in the next video. Thank you so, so much for spending a little bit of your time with me today. And I hope you guys have a wonderful week and a wonderful weekend. And I will see you guys soon. Bye.